Reverend Leon Campbell Jr. from Chicago, Illinois, but straight from the heart of God. He has the most beautiful smile, doesn't he? His countenance just glows with the power and the presence and the love of God. That's Christian Klickovitz, and that's Dwayne Augustine, and that's David Neal and Rayford Griffin, and they're hanging in that frequency of the city of God, which is the spirit of the holy fellowship of the most high power and presence and love of God, but it's also an entry into the fellowship of all initiated souls who are seeing beyond the three dimensions, who are seeing the realm of ever-expanding good and have stabilized themselves into that dynamic. We're inviting you, as you're entering into this sacred field of infinite potential, the sacred field of omnipresence, the sacred field of omniscience, omniactivity, omnipotence, this sacred field of God only and only God, to be absolutely available to spiritual insight and revelation, which is why you have tuned in to this particular spiritual center, so that you're opening yourself up to an initiation, opening yourself to the primary anointing that will allow you to see without eyes and to hear without ears, to come into a sacred awareness that you are consciousness, you are pure awareness, and though your consciousness may be proliferated with a lot of content from your perception, content of interpretation of past experiences, content of world of phenomena, things that are going on in the world, content that may bring you worry, may bring you fear. You may have a tremendous amount of content, but it is not affecting that which is embracing the content, which is your awareness. So our role is to seek you to separate yourself from the content and to become very aware of the context. What is the context? In you, in God, you live, move, and have your being. In God, you live, move, and have your being. In God, you live, move, and have your being. With that as your context, your perception begins to change, because perception is always based on context. And so if you think you're merely human, if you think you're merely the son or daughter of your parents, you think you're merely a graduate of a particular school, if you think you're merely where you were born or who you were born to, then you have shrunk your context. Your perception shrinks, and your experiential realm is then determined by those perceptions. You are not here for that. You are here to open yourself up to the largest context possible. In God, I live, move, and have my being. I live, I move, and I have my beingness in God. And with that as the context from which you pray, which you study, which you have your conversations, with that as your context from which you do your spiritual work, what is born in your awareness are insights in the absolute, insight of that dynamic that stretches your perception, and through continued spiritual practice, that stretch becomes stabilized. And no longer are you merely in the world, you're in it, but you're of a larger context, bringing light and love and intelligence and beauty and compassion and kindness and generosity and creativity and innovation and regeneration and all manner of spiritual essence into the world. You have come for such a time as this, and to speak that into existence with your high frequency of expanded context. Our theme for the month is and has been growing from role to soul. As we brought that forward last week on the Easter service, we became increasingly aware that we have different constellation of different personalities, constellation of different identities, constellation of different roles that have mainly emerged as an adaptation, as an adjustment to seemingly external experience. We developed personalities and sub-personalities based on the concept of heredity or whatever was going on in the social milieu of how we were being brought up. We developed certain personality constructs, and then we developed certain roles that we play in the world, you see. And those particular constructs of personality and those particular roles, they use the law of mind and action according to their limited perception and produce their limited experience based on that role. We are here to grow from role to soul. And that is continuing to acknowledge that there are roles that we play, to continue to acknowledge that there are personalities and sub-personalities, but we don't want to be, as we grow spiritually, we less and less identify with the temporary and more understand that our personalities and our particular roles are vehicles for the transcendent. They're vehicles for love and peace and joy and wisdom and harmony. They're not our true identity. When John Coltrane picked up a saxophone, that saxophone became a vehicle for the sacred music that he was hearing. He didn't identify himself as I am the saxophone. He got in tune with the sacred music of the spheres and allowed it to play through him, his awareness, and then ultimately that saxophone was an instrument bringing the inaudible to the audible, you see? In the same sense, you may have personality constructs and roles, but you're not so identified with them that they're no longer fluid. They become instruments of the divine, instruments of love and compassion and generosity, kindness, forgiveness, and all of the wonderful qualities which are the very essence of God itself. We are moving from role to soul. So what happens is when you enter into spiritual practice, you enter into prayer affirmatively, you enter into meditation, you enter into visioning, you enter into sacred service, you enter into study, you enter into having high conversations with individuals that are about growth, development, unfoldment, and vision consciousness, something begins to happen. There is a melting. Oh, Reverend Leon talked about the mystic saying that when God speaks, the whole world melts. That is the worldview. That is the paradigm. That is the point of view. It melts when the word of God is spoken, you see? And so when we enter into spiritual practice, then those particular identifications that we have become so fluid that sometimes we go into an existential crisis and we don't know who we are, because we're not identified with these little identities anymore. And it's almost like we're losing our minds, so to speak, at times, because the temporary identities are no longer strong enough to hold the energy that's trying to come through. What's that song, Reverend Deborah? I'm going to lose my mind up in here. You see, it's harder. I'm going to lose my mind. Anyway, this happens in spiritual practice, you see, that there is a melting. And in that melting of the egoic perception, in the melting of the personalities, in the melting of the roles, and not totally going away, but less and less identification with them, that is the precursor to the death or the metaphorical crucifixion. That which we have identified is crucified. And then there is the metaphorical death of that particular perception or identification. And from that, the great rebirth. From that, the great phoenix rising. From that, the great rising, more in tune with who we are, more in tune with what we are, more in tune with the sacred, ineffable presence, more and more identified with the source of all creation rather than just the creation. We become identified at a higher and higher level. Yesterday, we had a practitioner meeting early in the morning, and one of the things I was reminding the practitioners about in moving from role to soul is that we don't meet our clients or the people we're praying for with our practitioner license. We don't come in with our role, I'm a practitioner and you're not. No, we meet people soul to soul. We allow the presence of God, our spiritual practice, our insights, our revelations to do the talking, to do the listening, to say what is appropriate in the moment. The role is fluid so that the role becomes an instrument for the power, the presence, the love, the intelligence of God, you see? And so Reverend Jason and I were just talking a few moments ago, and we were talking about just the evolution itself, and we look at the evolution of the world, and we see that many people's identities are more fluid these days. They're not necessarily identifying with being man, woman. They're identifying as non-gender and things of that particular nature. It's a state of evolution where we're beginning to meet each other as soul to soul rather than man to woman, straight to gay, black to white, etc. There's something afoot that's happening on an evolutionary scale, you see? And there's a lot of confusion because when roles and personalities begin to melt And people are so identified with this is this and that is that, and they don't yet have the awareness of the source of all creation. It can be quite confusing and debilitating psychologically. And so we're inviting you to come out of any sense of being a materialist. And what I mean by that, materialists always say things like, I don't believe in God because I can't see it, I can't hear it, I got a microscope and looked very deeply, I couldn't find God. I got a telescope and looked and couldn't find God. I remember one Soviet astronaut, when they went out into outer space, sent back a message saying, I'm out here in outer space and I don't see God. Must not be a God. You see? And so we're understanding that the presence and the power and the love of God is formless. To the senses, you can't see it at all. You can't, to the physical ear, you can't hear it. And so we're aware that there's another faculty of seeing, another faculty of hearing, and that's your consciousness. You are awareness. And when you become less and less identified with merely being a body temple, there's an activation of the spiritual faculty that allows you to see the invisible, hear the inaudible, but not with eyes and ears, with that which created the eyes and the ears. This is the great anointing. This is the great touching and opening oneself up, you see? And then as we melt, as the personalities dissolve, as paradigms collapse, we hear Jesus the Christ saying, I am with you until the end of the world. I'm with you always, even until the end of the world. What world? That limited paradigm, that world view, that world that only the personality can see, that world that that role sees. I'm with you unto the end of that world, because outside of that world, there is a world that God sees, untouched and untarnished by human experience. When a baby is born out of its mother's womb, it comes into a world that's already here, and God is with that baby until the end of that little womb world, you see? And then it comes into a different world. There is a world that can be seen if you have eyes to see and ears to hear. I'm talking about your spiritual acumen. I'm talking about opening up, you see? And so our consciousness, our work is not just improving the personality, and it's good to have a good personality. It creates a little lubrication going through the world, makes it a little easier, you see? It's not just improving our roles, and yes, we do our whatever our role is, we want to do it so well that no one can do it better. Absolutely. But we must come to an understanding what's infusing the personality and what's infusing the role is the source of all creation. The love and the beauty and the intelligence that lends itself to innovativeness and resourcefulness and creativity and generosity and art. Oh my God. Therefore, we understand that our greatest work is the unfolding masterpiece of who and what we are. The unfolding masterpiece of who and what we are. This is what we're stepping into. Our greatest work is ourselves. Our greatest work is to go within and have a dynamic, soulful reckoning until the inner fragmentation of our interiority is healed and it's no longer projected into the external world, because the real world is non-linear. The real world is not polarized against itself. The real world is not fragmented, but when we are uninitiated, we look out into the world and we see good and evil, black and white, up and down, left and right. We see everything dichotomized and fragmented because that's what's happening inside of us. We are fragmented. We haven't yet touched the sense of unity, that unified field that allows us to look out and see the grand unifying presence that is everywhere. Just yesterday, as we were in that practitioner meeting, and Narges Motsafare spoke of a revelation that she had as she's been dealing with some physical challenges for a prolonged period of time. Her spiritual work led her to eliminate judgment. She had fierce judgment about particular things in the medical field, and something occurred to her, and now she says she's living in this state of a non-judgmental awareness, And this is a very high state of consciousness where you can look out in the world and judge not according to appearances, but to judge righteous judgment. That is to see the presence of God in everything, even when it's hard to see it, you see, even when it is difficult. And so the greatest work is the unfolding of the masterpiece called us. Through inner work, we begin to eliminate the fragmentation within us that allows us the habit of defending and protecting and living as defensiveness people, protecting our personality, protecting what we think is true about us, or whatever the case it may be. As a matter of fact, one of the great steps in self-transcendence, transcending the little self, is wanting God and wanting truth more than you want to be right. When you enter into that dynamic, that you want truth more than you want to be right, you're on the path of self-transcendence, you see. And so this great work that we are doing, we're called out for ourselves, continues with the awareness that 100% you never experience anything outside of yourself. 100% you're having an inner experience about anything that's going on. It may appear to be coming from outside of yourself, but you're having an inner experience. 100% of your experience is internal. You say, 100%. Now, it seems very hard to get to, but if you just take it on for a moment and begin to take back your power and realize that whatever you're experiencing is your inner dialogue about whatever's going on, and you become so magnificently powerful, you think about individuals such as Nelson Mandela, who was incarcerated but had an experience of freedom inside the jail cell. You think about individuals who have developed certain cities, certain spiritual powers, who have dedicated themselves to certain things and can stand intense fire and feel cold, or individuals that can go in deep cold and feel heat because they're generating their own inner experience. It's not coming from without themselves. Those are extreme examples, of course, but if anybody can do that, that means that's available to everyone, at least in our lives. I'm not saying go out into the desert and pretend it's cold. I'm saying go into your consciousness and understand that every experience you're having, you're generating that experience. And let the rough place be made smooth within you, the crooked places straight. Let us bring down the mountains of despair and elevate the valleys, so that we're creating a desert and the highway in the desert for our Lord, the great law of life, to emerge in and as our life. Oh, I'm trying to get you something here. You have to hear it on another level, you see. And so the great masterpiece is us. The greatest work you'll ever do is to actually eliminate the fragmentation in your own interiority by accepting that no one can make you feel any way without your permission. It's all in here, you see. And if you work with that, I'm talking about the work play. I'm talking about getting down. I'm talking about a continual awareness, not just in your formal moments of prayer and meditation that you may have in the morning or in the evening or in the afternoon. I'm talking about catching yourself throughout the course of the day whenever you've given your power away to some external circumstance. I'm talking about seeking to stay awake on a regular basis, not creating guilt when you fall, not beating yourself up when you get into judgment or you get into whatever the thing may be. Just say, whoop, got caught, come back. Whoop, got caught, come back. Whoop, got caught, come back. You just keep coming back. As I said in the earlier service, there's no new thought or new age hell, because you made mistakes. The mistake itself is the hell. You just come back, you see? And with that kind of work, you will replace your spiritual wishbone with a spiritual backbone. In other words, you won't be standing up wishing that things were better, wishing that you become more prosperous. Oh, I wish. No, you're going to get rid of the spiritual wishbone, and you're going to have a spiritual backbone that allows you to do the inner work so well that you become aware that you are backed by the entire universe. You're backed by the source of all creation. You're backed by the universal law emanating from the universal presence. You're standing with the spiritual backbone, and you are backed by the presence of God. With that awareness, declaration and decree, baby. When you say something, you're in integrity with that. Your word declaration and decree, baby. Oh, all is well. You'll say what Lee is saying these days. There's nothing wrong. All is well, and all my needs are met. You'll find something, and that declaration, that decree will mean something. It will become subjectified. It will become your law. And even when you're not thinking about it, you see, you'll walk in the world, but be of what you have subjectified, of the expanded state of awareness. And life will begin to reveal itself to you as a unified field of love and beauty and intelligence. And keep in mind, when I say these qualities, love, beauty, intelligence, abundance, etc., they're not merely qualities of God. They are the very essence of God. And you can't separate the essence from the source. It's an impossibility, you see. That love and intelligence are the essence. And so materialists would say, oh my God, how am I going to figure this out and navigate through the world? Here's the deal. When you become absolutely available, love itself figures it out. Intelligence flows through you, and you act appropriately in that moment without having to pre-plan what you're going to do in that moment. Love is doing it. Peace is doing it. Joy is doing it. Intelligence is doing it. Compassion is doing it through and as you. You want to live at this level. You wouldn't tune in here. You want to live at this level, you see. As I was saying earlier, I could see, I think it was Monday, but I'm not sure. I'm kind of nonlinear right now. I don't know when this happened. But I got caught in a vision, and I could see the fog and the clouds that people were caught up in. And I could see just right around here, there was the sun was shining so brightly. And I could see that the world is so beautiful. And there's way more good on the planet than negativity. There's way more progress than stagnation. The life is so magnificent. I could see it. I could see it. I could see it. And I could see the fog that people were caught up in, and people were more caught up in the fog, more caught up in the clouds than the bright sunshine of life itself, you see? And a lot of that, of course, is generated by our mass media. That's, if it leads, it bleeds. This is negativity, this. Be worried about this. Be afraid about this. It's the whole litany of negativity that's bombarding people's minds on a regular basis. But I could see it. And I became aware that what the fog is forgetting omnipresent goodness, forgetting omnipresent God, forgetting omnipresent gratitude. That's what the fog is. We are forgetting omnipresent God, omniscient God, omniactive God, omnipotent goodness, omnipotent gratitude. We get caught in the fog of illusion and seek to navigate through it rather than stepping back, cleaning up our interiority, and then seeing, oh my God. Oh my God. And then what's important is, not beat yourself up in terms of obligation, I got to do this, but to do it on such a regular basis that when you have such vision, such insight, it starts to stabilize itself. You start to live in this space. Now, you won't fit in with everybody, absolutely. If you're trying to fit in, it's the wrong teaching. If you're trying to learn how to be in the status quo and, walk lockstep in relative morality, everybody's doing it, it must be good. This ain't the right place. But if you want to walk with God, consciousness, if you want to walk with a strength that comes from having an intimate at one with pure spirit, if you want to come back to by the universe, you do your inner work so well, but you do it as if you're meeting your very best friend. I'm going to sit down for a couple of moments, and I'm just going to, oh God, I can't wait to just meet the lover of my heart and the keeper of my soul. I can't wait to just have an encounter with the presence. You see, whether I'm feeling good or whether I'm feeling bad, whether I'm in the middle of melting and everything is a strew within me, or whether everything is at a higher level stabilized. I don't judge any of that, but I keep wanting the encounter, the meeting, the connection. You see? And so, what are we doing here? We're replacing wishbone with spiritual backbone. So you remember. You remember. Your greatest work is on you. Unfolding masterpiece. And that masterpiece is already within you. You're just uncovering everything that's covering it up. It's here. But since this is a participatory universe, and you're the image and likeness of God, you have to participate in it. You can't just wish for it. You have to participate in it. That's the work. Do it with a smile on your face when you can. If you got to do it crying, that's okay too. If you got to do it weeping and nailing and wailing and gnashing of teeth because some part is dying, do it anyway. Just do it. And then raise up from Nike consciousness into just be it. Just be it to the best of your ability, moment by moment. Take a deep inhalation with me right now. Release. Again, deep inhalation. Release. Deep inhalation. Sustain it at the apex. And with that sustenance, that pranic sustenance, feel that all of your needs are met right now. Don't look to the external world for evidence of this. Just feel it. Feel dynamic wholeness within yourself right now. Feel it. Don't look for evidence. Don't look to the past. Feel it right now. Release with this sound of ah. Ah. We don't look for the evidence before we feel the feeling. We feel the feeling, and then we wait for the evidence to show up. For the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. The presence is not an absence. We're activating our spiritual faculties. So there you have it. We're moving from role to soul. Dying daily, going through the moments of confusion where we're no longer identified with who we thought we were, crucifixion of the temporary self, dying to rise up with a greater embracing of our real nature. Full awareness. Masterpiece is here. My greatest work is to allow this masterpiece to unfold. And then I joined vibrationally the holy fellowship of sacred beings who have traversed the interiority of separation and have come to the bank of unity. And all together, as Reverend Leon was saying, we're all together in the city of God, the holy fellowship. Brothers and sisters, emanations of God in this sacred gathering, with bodies, without bodies, together, embracing the next great state and stage of evolution of who we are and what we have come to become. You may not remember this, but many of you have come here at this time voluntarily to be a part of the great emergence that's taking place right now. The letting go of the limited consciousness, the constraints of might makes power. Greed, avarice, manipulation, and control into the birthing of the love ethic. You said, I want to go. It's going to be tough. Ooh, it's going to be hard. It's going to be some dark days. There's going to be some negativity. It's going to be an old paradigm trying to hold on and control people. I got to go. I got to go. I want to go. I see you, mama. I'm jumping in that body. I got to go. You may have forgotten you volunteered to be here at this time. Don't run and hide. Let your light so shine before men and women and them and they and gender nonconforming that when they see you, they see the presence of God. Remember. 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 And one of the ways by which you remember is you keep your vibration up to the best of your ability. When it falls, you just get back up. We're not saying you're not going to fall. We're not saying that. We're not saying you're not going to have a mistake. No. We're saying you get over it as fast as you can. Bless yourself, forgive yourself, eliminate the guilt, and come back to celebration. And that's why we dance. It's not frivolous. Just like prayer isn't frivolous. Meditation is frivolous. Dance is not frivolous. Putting ourselves in a state where tonic chemicals are flowing so we can stabilize any insights that have occurred this day. Let's watch this being right here who's sending a wonderful video dancing with the Rev. This is Kelly Cisneros. Kelly Cisneros. We're trying to get the sound together, but we can definitely see her doing the Rev. Keep your head to the sky. That's optimistic. That's the song Optimistic. The head to the sky. You can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. You know what I'm talking about, Brenda? Oh, she got her kitty. We love all species. Dogs, cats, birds, four-legged, whatever. We love them all. Kelly, we see you. All right. God, give her some love online. Give her some love online. We want you to stand up now. We want you to be available for the great dancer inside of you. You don't have to look like anybody else. You don't have to know all the moves that you see people. Remember Soul Train? You don't have to know all that. You just want to move a little bit. You know what I mean? Because as Jesus told the thief to the left and the thief to the right, today thou shalt be with me in paradise. We want to take you to paradise, baby. Take a breath, take a breath. We want you to take a breath. Take a breath, take the holy breath here, right here. Take a breath, take the breath right here. Take a breath, take the holy breath right here. Take a breath, take the holy breath here, right here. Take a breath, take the holy breath here, right here. Take a breath, take the holy breath here, right here. Take a breath, take the holy breath right here. Take the holy breath here, right here. Take the holy breath here, right here. Take the holy breath right here. As we're lifted up into the spiritual domain, we begin to see a little bit differently. There's a broadcast going on. This broadcast comes from within you. There's a song singing in you. Singing. There is something within you that wants to express. There is something within you that wants to come forward. You are anointed. I got a special gift for you today. As a minister like this, Reverend Deborah Lynn reality, the founder of the Inner Light Spiritual Community. Deborah, what moves you got? Wake up and say to yourself, here comes Rev. I'm taking an adventure in paradise. And guess what? I'm taking you with me. I'm activating my spiritual stimulus package. I'm taking an adventure in paradise. Package begins with an awareness that you're sourced and Deborah, you still got moves. Deborah Johnson.
Looking outside for
Inner Life Spiritual Community. She blasted out right here from Agape.
inner ear. Life is everywhere, joy is everywhere, love is everywhere. Why we see that?
We go way back. High school.
Feel it. Feel it. Feel it in your bones.
That's her.
Come on. I'm taking an adventure in paradise.
Rev Deb.
And guess what? I'm taking you with
Sometimes
me.
she comes to speak. Sometimes she comes to pray. Today she came to dance.
I'm taking an adventure in paradise. I'm taking an adventure in paradise. And guess what? I'm taking you with me. I'm activating my spiritual stimulus pack. I'm taking an adventure in paradise.
Feel into that. Feel it. Feel that your needs are met. Feel that life is for you. Feel that there's nothing against you. Feel that everything is working together for your good. We're moving into the dynamic of prayer. We were just praying with dance. We were just praying with spoken word. We were just praying with wonderful song by Reverend Leon. We were praying with Alma. We were praying. We're continuing to pray. This is a praying community. And so we turn within, close the outer eyes for a moment. Let our interior awareness be full of light as we see without eyes, as we hear without ears. The light, the luminous, the presence, and something happens. Great gratitude takes over. Something happens. Great thanksgiving embraces our heart of hearts. Something happens. Thankfulness becomes our dominant frequency. Thank you. I want to thank you. Thank you. I want to thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Woo. Moves through us right now. I'm so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We come into the consciousness of thank you, the consciousness of gratitude. And if something happens, and we, oh my God, we begin to see like never before, God is everywhere. We begin to see, oh, judgment dissolves. We begin to judge righteous judgment. God is there. Solution is there. Answer is there. Peace is there. Love is there. Safety is there. We begin to see the omniscient, all-knowing. We begin to see the omnipresent, everywhere present. We begin to see the omnipotent, the only power. We begin to see the omniactive. We begin to see that everything underneath everything is the presence of God moving forward. Begin to see it. And we feel so connected that we're able to say, I am. I am. I am what thou art, and thou art what I am. No separation, no distance, no otherness. The word that is spoken with the authority of one knowing that all that there is God, and that everything that is a manifestation of the only thing that is. I speak it now. For each and every one of us this day, that we may be free. Remember, we're not on a religious quest. We're on a quest for liberation. Totally different. We're not trying to convert people, subjugate people. This way, only way. Our quest is about being liberated from limitation, liberated from lies, liberated from superstitious beliefs, liberated that we may be free right here inside of our awareness. It is in this consciousness that I speak the word for each and every individual tuning in right now. knowing that where they are, God is in God's fullness, and that the divine presence is so moving through them at this moment that I can declare and decree divine wholeness and wellness and well-being, vitality and vigor moving through these beings right here and right now, and according to their willingness right now, and they are to receive and to accept that they're all right. Accept that you're all right right now. Accept that you're all right. Something wonderful is happening. Oh, harmonizing prosperity is reigning supreme. From this field of abundance, prosperity is revealing itself in the lives of everyone tuning in right now. And the eternal is the fabric, the vibrational fabric in all of our relations. That would be love, that would be forgiveness, that would be compassion, kindness and patience. Because we're taking 100% responsibility for our own experience. Bless, 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 bless each other. Oh, I'm so grateful for this. That all I can do is say thank you again. Thank you. Thank you. I want you to feel what Dr. Brenda is putting down. And I'm going to mention some names to you, and you're going to hold them in prayer. Don't leave. Stay in the field right here. Just stay in this prayer field. It's going to give us a moment of something. Listen.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound, ooh, that saves a soul like me. Yeah, I once was lost. Oh, but now I'm found. I was blind, oh, but now I thank God I see. Through many dangerous toils and snares, you know I'm a testimony that I have already come. It was grace, oh, that brought me safe this far. And grace, God's grace, sweet grace will lead me on. Yeah.
Feel into that grace-filled moment.